everybody, welcome back to the Magisterial Madrid YouTube channel, and today we have a bumper episode because I'm going to be going into my first real video on this channel because I've been waiting to see if anything big comes along in terms of transfers. So we're going to start off the episode by talking about Paul Pogba and his current state right now and what are Madrid's chances of landing him. Now at the moment, it doesn't look very likely. Right now, it looks like Paul Pogba, at the moment, will be staying with Manchester United, and there hasn't really been much development. And I'm assuming that this will be put on the back burner for the time being, and I'll explain why later on. But really, not much news on Paul Pogba. There's also not much news on Eriksen. A report came out today that said that he does not plan on re-signing with Spurs because he does want to come to La Liga. Now, Atletico Madrid has also been linked with Eriksen, so I guess we have to wait and see what ends up happening. I really don't think we're going to go in for Eriksen, but we have to wait and see. As for Donny van de Beek, I really like the signing. I would have preferred to keep Ceballos and then get Van de Beek personally, but what can you do? And overall, there hasn't been much news today on him either. It's really just been flooded with the whole Neymar news, which I guess I'll get into right now, being that is pretty much everything that's been taking up my timeline on Twitter. So, Neymar. There have been a lot of rumors coming out talking about Neymar and him possibly joining Real Madrid. Now, the outlets that have said that there is possibly a deal in place, or that they have an offer, or that they're interested, all that stuff, it's come from Sky Sports from England, Jose Luis Sanchez, who is a very reliable source on Twitter, very close to Madrid. And then there's this person named Jose Alvarez, who claims to have really the biggest inside scoop, claiming that the deal that we've offered is 120 million, I believe, euros, and Modric. You might be wondering, who is this Jose Alvarez guy, because I didn't even hear about him until today, and apparently this is just a report that came out. Apparently this guy, Jose Alvarez, he was actually found dining with one of Neymar's close friends and the Barca technical secretary for the South African region, Andre Curie, I believe, a week ago, and he might have some info. So, what does this mean? Now, it means that he could possibly be reliable, and he's kind of new on the scene in terms of reporting, but everything that I've seen that he's reported, he's gotten correct. At least I've looked through his timeline, and it looks pretty, legit. But me personally, I think that we are interested. I don't think we've put in a bid or anything like that, but I do think we are interested. I think the main force is Florentino Perez, of course, the president. I believe he is the most interested, but is Zidane interested? I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to believe that Zidane would move away from Paul Pogba and go to Neymar and shift his focus because, he's been so adamant about Paul Pogba. And me personally, I would definitely accept the deal. Giving up an aging Modric, who I do think that it's better to give up, these older players too soon than too late, because I think that with Modric you could probably get another season or two out of him that would be probably world class, not as consistent as he once was, but still a very good midfielder, and especially in Ligue 1 where it's a little bit easier, and he'll have Verratti next to him. I think that would be a brilliant midfield tandem. And overall, right now it's still very bare bones because people like Cope have said it's not happening. A man named Marcelo Bechler, he has confirmed that there's been no contact between Real and PSG over Neymar. But then again, there's also this Twitter account named SoccerLink_. You can check them out on Twitter. He replied to that tweet and said false. So he believes that the rumors are true. Now, what are the odds of Neymar actually coming to Real Madrid? At the moment, I don't think they're very high. I think that we are interested. I think that if Florentino can convince Zidane, then I think that we would get Neymar. But I'm not sure if he'll end up being convinced. Now, I do think we should do this deal because, 120 million plus Modric for one of the best players in the world. I know he is, a little bit injury prone and he has some attitude issues, and he does have his downsides, of course. But overall, when he is healthy, he is, in my opinion, the third best, or you can argue the fourth best player in the world. And I just think that a player like that you can't turn down, especially for 120 million, which in today's market is extremely cheap. When you think about it, Joao Felix went for 120 million. Paul Pogba is over 150. And I understand there's, more context towards it because, Joao Felix is 19 and Paul Pogba is in the prime of his career and he has no injury issues. So I understand. And of course, Man United want to keep him. So I get the pricing. But if it's true that PSG really, really, really don't want to deal with Barcelona and they fully want to deal with anybody else but them, then I think that we may actually have a deal on our hands. Now, I do believe that PSG are trying to find an escape route to this Neymar situation. I do believe they want to sell him, and I do believe that Neymar wants to go himself. And I think that when it comes down to it, Barcelona at the moment, the president has rolled out a move for Neymar. The PSG people hate Barcelona, so I can't really see that happening. And the only other option is to loan him somewhere, but there must be, a buy option or something, or sell him to us, because we're the only team that realistically can take on his attitude and his contract. Because, we're at a club like Real Madrid where, attitude is probably normal here. And a chip on your shoulder is actually kind of wanted, especially in a Zidane side, that we need a little more, a little more strike in our attack. Because I think right now there's nobody who guarantees us over 20 goals. I think there's people who could potentially get over 20 goals. I think Hazard could. I think Benzema could. I think that other than that, it's kind of just a team of who's going to score. And I think that if you put Neymar in that team, then he guarantees you 20 goals plus a season, probably 30, honestly. And you can't turn down a player like that. Now, I really do hope this deal does go through. And I've never been really that big of a Neymar fan. I've, in fact, not really wanted him, and I kind of rejected the deal for a long time in my head, and just vocally on Twitter, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, I just think that in the situation we're in right now, with Marco Asensio out, I don't think you can turn down a top 5 player in the world. And maybe it'll come down to Neymar and he says no. I personally don't think he'll say no, just because I think he wants to leave PSG that bad. And I do think he would prefer a return to Barcelona, but I don't think that PSG is going to even think about selling him to them. Now, I do think that the best deal for PSG would to take the 120 million from Barcelona and then on top of that add people like Dembele, Coutinho, Umtiti, players like that. I think that would be way smarter. But, we've seen them be extremely adamant about not wanting to sell to them. So that may just be a case of that. So my overall thoughts on Neymar, I do think that this rumor is starting to gain a lot of traction. I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket and say, yep, it's happening. But I'm also not going to completely rule it out. I think that at the end of the day, whatever does go down, I do think that regardless, at the end of this transfer window, I do think we will end up with one more player besides Donny van de Beek, because I think that's a done deal. I think that'll be announced once Ajax's Champions League qualifier games are over. But, if we do give up somebody like Modric, then our midfield, it becomes even weaker. And at the moment, that's the weakest it's ever been. And if you give up one of our best players, a starter, then, it's going to be even weaker. Now, I do think that with Donny van de Beek coming in, that's another body. And I think that if you play Neymar at center attacking mid, I think that would, in my opinion, I think that would be the best option. Or you can play Hazard there. But, they're pretty much interchangeable, really, because they kind of just float around the pitch. But yeah, there's so many different options, and I can go on for hours talking about this. And if you do believe this rumor, then tell me in the comment section down below how you would line up with this possible 11 with Neymar included. Now that's pretty much it from me. I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your night or day whenever you are watching this. Subscribe if you are new to Magisterial Madrid, and I will catch you guys next time. Hala Madrid.